I never thought my daughter's kindergarten art show would unravel a family secret that had been buried for 3 decades. But looking back, I should have known something was different about Jenny's latest drawing when she insisted on keeping it hidden until Grandma arrived. "It's a special surprise, Mommy," she'd said that morning, clutching her artwork to her chest. "Grammy needs to see it first." I'd smiled, chalking it up to typical 6-year-old dramatics. Jenny had always been close to my mother-in-law, Margaret, who doted on her only grandchild with an intensity that sometimes seemed desperate. Now I understand why. The school gymnasium was packed with proud parents and relatives admiring children's artwork displayed on makeshift walls. My husband, Tom, was running late from work, but Margaret had arrived early, dressed impeccably as always in her designer pantsuit and signature pearl necklace. "Where's my little artist?" she cooed, barely acknowledging my presence. That was typical Margaret. Everything was always about maintaining perfect appearances and controlling the narrative. Jenny had bounced over, her dark curls flying. "Grammy, I made something special just for you." She pulled out her drawing from behind her back with a flourish. "It's our real family tree." I watched as Margaret accepted the paper, her practiced smile frozen in place. Then, as she actually looked at the drawing, all color drained from her face. "Jenny, sweetheart," Margaret's voice trembled. What is this?" I moved closer, curious about what could have rattled my usually unflappable mother-in-law. Jenny's drawing showed our family tree, but there was something odd about it. She'd drawn her dad twice as a little boy, one figure wearing blue and the other pink. "See, Grammy, that's Daddy and his twin sister, the one in the picture under your bed." Margaret's hands began shaking so badly she nearly dropped the drawing. "What picture?" she whispered. "The one in the pretty silver frame. I was playing hide and seek last weekend and found a whole box of pictures under your bed. There was a baby picture of Daddy and his twin sister." "Why didn't you tell us Daddy had a twin?" The gymnasium suddenly felt very small. Other parents were starting to stare at Margaret, who looked like she might faint. I grabbed her elbow and steered her toward a folding chair. "Jenny, honey, why don't you show your other drawings to Mrs. Peterson?" I suggested, nodding toward her teacher. Once Jenny skipped away, I turned to Margaret. "Are you okay?" She was clutching Jenny's drawing like a lifeline, tears forming in her perfectly made-up eyes. "She wasn't supposed to find those," she whispered. "No one was ever supposed to know." "Know what, Margaret?" But I think I already knew. The way she'd always been so protective of Tom, so insistent on controlling every family narrative, so desperate to be the perfect mother. It all started making a terrible kind of sense. Tom had a twin sister, didn't he? Margaret nodded almost imperceptibly. Her name was Elizabeth. Her voice cracked on the name. "We called her Beth." "What happened to her?" Before Margaret could answer, I heard Tom's voice behind us. "Mom? Sarah? What's going on?" Jenny said something about a surprise drawing. Margaret's face went from white to gray. "Thomas, please, not here." But Jenny had already run back, clutching her drawing. "Daddy, look what I made. It's you and your twin sister from the pictures in Grammy's room." I watched my husband's face as he studied the drawing, confusion turning to bewilderment. "Mom, what is Jenny talking about? What pictures?" Margaret stood up so quickly she knocked over the folding chair. "We need to leave. Now, this isn't the place." "No," Tom's voice was firm. "Jenny, sweetheart, what pictures did you find?" "In the silver frame, Daddy. You were babies in matching outfits, but one pink and one blue. There were lots of pictures of you both. Grammy has them hidden in a box under her bed with letters and." "That's enough." Margaret's sharp tone made Jenny jump. Several parents turned to stare. "Mom?" Tom's voice had changed, become something raw and uncertain. "Is there something you need to tell me?" Margaret looked around frantically, like a trapped animal. "Please, Thomas. Not here. Not like this." "Then where, Mom? When? Because it seems like my 6-year-old daughter just discovered something you've been hiding from me my entire life." His voice was rising. "Did I have a twin sister?" The silence that followed was deafening. Jenny pressed against my leg, suddenly aware she'd sparked something big. Margaret's perfect facade cracked completely as tears began rolling down her cheeks. "I was trying to protect you," she whispered. "You were both so small, so sick. When we lost her, your father and I thought it would be easier if you never knew." We moved towns, started fresh. The doctor said you were too young to remember. Tom staggered back like he'd been physically struck. I had a twin sister who died, and you never told me? You let me grow up thinking I was an only child? How could you? She didn't die. Margaret's words hung in the air like smoke. My hand flew to my mouth as the full impact hit me. Jenny's drawing trembled in Tom's grip. What do you mean, she didn't die? His voice was barely a whisper. But before Margaret could answer, Jenny's teacher approached. I'm sorry, but we need to start the art show presentations. Could you continue this discussion outside? Margaret seemed to remember where we were. She straightened her jacket, trying to reclaim her dignity. Yes, of course. Thomas, Sarah, please. Come to my house after. I'll explain everything. But Tom was already walking away. Jenny's drawing crumpled in his fist. I watched my husband, who had grown up believing he was an only child, stride through the gymnasium doors, leaving his mother crying silently beside a wall of children's artwork. Jenny tugged at my hand. Mommy, did I do something wrong? I knelt down and hugged her tight. No, baby, you just helped uncover a truth that's been hidden for a very long time. As I held my daughter, I looked at Margaret over Jenny's shoulder. For the first time, I saw past her perfect exterior to the weight of secrets she carried for 30 years. But watching Tom's retreating back, I knew the real weight was just beginning. The truth about Elizabeth was about to change everything. And it had started with a 6-year-old's innocent drawing. The drive to Margaret's house was silent except for Jenny's occasional humming from the back seat. Tom gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white, and I could practically hear the questions churning in his mind. Should we have dropped Jenny at my sister's? I asked softly. No, Tom's voice was strained. I want her there. Mom can't. She can't hide anything if Jenny's asking innocent questions. When we pulled up to Margaret's Victorian home, another car was in the driveway, one I didn't recognize. Tom froze halfway out of our car. That's Dad's car. He hasn't driven here in years, not since the divorce. My stomach tightened. If Margaret had called her ex-husband, this was even bigger than we thought. Margaret opened the door before we reached it. She'd clearly been crying, her makeup redone hastily. Behind her stood Thomas Sr., looking older than I remembered from the few times I'd met him. Come in, Margaret's voice trembled. Please. Jenny ran straight to the family room, oblivious to the tension, while we adults stood awkwardly in the foyer. The box, Tom said quietly. I want to see it. Margaret nodded and disappeared upstairs. When she returned, she carried a large wooden box, the kind that might hold wedding memorabilia. She set it on the dining room table with shaking hands. Before you open it, Thomas Sr. spoke for the first time. You need to understand the circumstances. Circumstances? Tom's laugh was bitter. What circumstances justify hiding my twin sister's existence for 30 years? We were young, Margaret began, and poor. The pregnancy was difficult. When you and Beth were born 2 months premature, the hospital bills were astronomical. Thomas Sr. continued. You were both in the NICU. We were drowning in debt. And then this couple came. Stop. Tom held up his hand. Are you saying you sold my sister? The silence was damning. They were wealthy, Margaret whispered. They couldn't have children. They offered to pay all the medical bills, plus enough to give you a good life. They promised to keep in touch, to let us know how she was doing. Tom yanked open the box. Inside were hundreds of photos, letters, and what looked like yearly updates. His hands trembled as he lifted out the silver-framed photo Jenny had mentioned. 2 babies, identical except for their clothes. All these years, he breathed. You've been getting updates. Until she turned 18, Thomas Sr. said. Then the letters stopped. Because she found out, I realized aloud. She found out she was adopted. Margaret nodded miserably. Her parents, the Hendersons, they told her on her 18th birthday. She was angry, devastated. She didn't want contact. Tom was rifling through the letters now, decades of his sister's life documented in neat yearly summaries. Beth Henderson, he read. She grew up in Seattle. She was a competitive swimmer. She had allergies like me. His voice broke. She got married 5 years ago. I've been watching her on social media, Margaret admitted. She's a pediatric nurse now. She has 2 children. I'm an uncle? Tom's voice cracked. I have nieces or nephews I've never met. Jenny wandered in then, clutching her drawing. Daddy, why are you crying? Tom pulled our daughter into his lap, holding her like a lifeline. Because sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, sweetheart. Big mistakes that hurt people they love. Like hiding Aunt Beth? Jenny asked innocently. The room went still. It was the first time anyone had said Beth's name as a relative, not just an abstract concept. Yes, Tom said firmly, exactly like hiding Aunt Beth. Thomas, Margaret reached for his hand, but he pulled away. We thought we were doing the right thing. You were too young to remember her, and the Hendersons could give her everything we couldn't. Except her family, Tom stood abruptly, setting Jenny down. Except her identity, except her twin brother. Do you have any idea what it was like growing up feeling like something was always missing? Having dreams about a girl I thought I'd made up? Do you know what it's like to learn your whole life has been a lie? Thomas Sr. stepped forward. Son. Don't. Tom's voice was ice. You don't get to call me that. Not after this. I want her address. Margaret paled. She doesn't want contact. That was 12 years ago. She has a right to know she has a brother who never abandoned her, who never chose to give her away. She has a right to know about Jenny, about her family. And if she rejects you? Thomas Sr. asked quietly. Then that's her choice. But it will be her choice, not someone else's made for her. I stepped forward, placing a hand on Tom's arm. There's something else to consider. Everyone looked at me. Jenny found those photos by accident. How many other family secrets might come out through a child's innocent discovery? Wouldn't it be better for Beth to hear from us before some coincidence forces the issue? Margaret sank into a chair, looking defeated. She's in Portland now. I have her address. As she wrote it down with trembling hands, I watched my husband's face. The anger was still there, but something else too. Hope, fear, longing. 30 years of missing someone he hadn't known existed. Jenny tugged at his sleeve. Can we go meet Aunt Beth? I want to show her my drawing. Tom knelt down to her level. I don't know, sweetheart, but because of your drawing, we can try. Sometimes the most important truths come from the smallest hearts. As we left Margaret's house, the address clutched in Tom's hand like a treasure map, I glanced back. Our in-laws stood in the doorway, 3 decades of secrets crumbling around them. They looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of their choices. But in our car, as we drove home with the box of Beth's life in the trunk, something else was growing. The possibility of healing, of completion, of a family made whole not by secrets kept, but by truths revealed through a child's innocent art. The Portland address sat on our kitchen counter for 3 days while Tom read every letter in the box. I'd find him late at night, surrounded by photos of Beth's life, tracing her growth through yearly snapshots. A first bicycle, dance recitals, high school graduation, a wedding photo where she beamed in white lace, looking so much like Tom it took my breath away. Finally, on a Sunday morning, he picked up the phone. I found her on Facebook, he said quietly. She looks happy. Her kids are 4 and 2. I watched him struggle with the weight of what he was about to do. Want me to make the call? He shook his head. No, I need to do this. The phone rang 4 times before a woman's voice answered. Hello. Tom's hand trembled so badly I could see the phone shaking. Is this Beth Henderson? Yes. Who's this? My name is Tom Matthews. He took a deep breath. I'm your twin brother. The silence stretched so long we thought she'd hung up. Then, very quietly, I told the Hendersons I didn't want contact with the people who gave me away. You didn't tell me, Tom's voice cracked, because I didn't know you existed until 3 days ago. My 6-year-old daughter found your pictures hidden at my mother's house. Another long pause. What? They never told me about you, Beth. I grew up an only child, feeling like half of me was missing. I just learned about you because my daughter made a family tree drawing and included her Aunt Beth from the photos she found. We heard a shaky breath on the other end. They never told you about me? No, never. I have 30 years of your life in letters and photos that they kept secret. I have a box full of a sister I should have grown up with, should have protected, should have known. A muffled sob came through the phone. I always wondered why my twin would let me go. How you could just, but you didn't know. No, Tom's voice was fierce. I would never have let you go. You're my twin, Beth, my other half. Mommy? A child's voice in the background. Why are you crying? Beth's voice became muffled as she spoke to her child. Then she came back on the line. Can we meet? Yes, Tom said immediately. Please, I'll drive to Portland today if you want. I have a better idea, Beth said. It's my kids' fall break next week. We were planning to visit the coast. What if we came to you instead? Tom's eyes met mine, hopeful and terrified. I nodded encouragingly. Yes, he said. Please, my daughter Jenny can't wait to meet her aunt. And I need to see you. We made arrangements, and after the call ended, Tom sat in silence for a long time. What if she hates them? He finally asked. What if she can't forgive them? That's her choice to make, I said gently. Just like it's your choice. A week later, we stood in our driveway as a blue SUV pulled up. Jenny bounced excitedly beside us, clutching her drawing. The woman who stepped out of the car was Tom's mirror image in female form. Same dark hair, same green eyes, same cleft in the chin. She stared at Tom, tears streaming down her face. I used to dream about you, she whispered. I thought I was crazy. Me too, Tom's voice broke as he stepped forward. Every night, same dream. A girl with my face. They moved at the same time, crashing together in a hug that looked like coming home. Beth's husband, David, stood by their car, holding their youngest, while their 4-year-old daughter peeked shyly from behind his legs. Jenny tugged at Beth's sleeve. I brought you something, Aunt Beth. Beth knelt down, wiping her eyes. What is it, sweetheart? My drawing. The one that helped us find you. Beth took the now crumpled paper, fresh tears falling as she studied the crayon-drawn figures. You drew us as babies. In the picture from Grammy's room, blue for Daddy and pink for you. Beth hugged Jenny tight. Thank you for finding me. Later, after the kids were playing in the backyard and David was chatting with Tom, Beth pulled me aside. Have they tried to contact you? She asked quietly. Margaret and Thomas. Every day, I admitted. They want to see you. Beth was quiet for a moment, watching her daughter chase Jenny around the swing set. Maybe someday. But not yet. First, I need to know my brother. Know my niece. Build the family that should have been. Take all the time you need, I said. We'll be here. That evening, as we watched Beth's family drive away with promises to return soon, Tom held Jenny close. You know what, sweetheart? He said. Your drawing didn't just find my sister. It found a part of me I never knew was lost. Jenny beamed. Can I make more family drawings? Yes, Tom laughed. But maybe no more hidden secrets. I think we've had enough of those. That night, I added Jenny's drawing to our family album. The crayon figures of the twins in blue and pink would forever mark the page where our family story changed, where truth came from innocence and love began to heal 30 years of silence. Sometimes the smallest hands draw the biggest truths, and sometimes it takes a child's pure heart to show us the way back to who we should have been all along.